Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, they make a trade for Keenan Allen. They've got DJ Moore in-house. This unit is an exciting unit, man.
How similar is this to what we saw with like Jackson Smith and Jigba last year, where highly touted first-round prospect goes to a place where there's two established veteran receivers? If Rome Odunze is the player that I think he is, right? And for me, I thought he was the second best receiver in the class.
Right.
A player that really didn't have a true weakness. I think could play all three receiver spots.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Today we're going to be talking about the first round. A lot of movement, especially on the back end there, Matt. When we taking a look at some of the stuff, and obviously the big three up top was kind of, I don't know, to be expected, I guess. Wasn't 100% sure where Rome Odunze went, but we did talk about it on this particular show how fun it would be if the Bears loaded up and went Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, and then just completely revamped what they got. So we'll just start right there in Chicago. They go with Caleb number one. They turn around. They luckily find Odunze fall to them. I thought Odunze might go to Atlanta. Nope, didn't go
Nope,
there.
they went in a different direction, which we don't have to break down on this show. I mean,
boy.
my God.
Oh,
but
boy.
yes, they did decide to go in a slightly different direction.
So Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, they make a trade for Keenan Allen. They've got DJ Moore in-house. This unit is an exciting unit, man.
Yeah, I mean, for Chicago, you have to feel alive, for the first
Electric.
time since whenever the last time they had an outrageous amount of ill-fated hope was, which was probably, when Justin Fields was drafted. But I do think this unit looks great on paper, right? Yeah. Which is fantastic. And I think the biggest... There's obviously like a fantasy discussion to have, which is like, how do you split up the target share here? And how similar is this to what we saw with like Jackson Smith and Jigba last year, where highly touted first round prospect goes to a place where there's two established veteran receivers. That is obviously on paper, it's going to be a tough room to split up, but forget about that for a second, and whether we even want to have that conversation on this show. I do think it's a slightly different situation for a couple of different reasons, but from just a football perspective, this is what Chicago should do. They should really never be in a position where they're chasing weapons with Caleb Williams.
Create a strength is the point that we were saying, right? Like you want to be able to make other teams adjust to you, not the other way around.
Because for me, like, again, everything in the offseason is on paper. Everything is perfect right now, right? The Jets take a tackle because they can sit there and realize, hey, we have Tyron Smith in-house, but it's Tyron Smith. Like, he's probably a lock to miss some time this year. And frankly, like, if we're going to be honest, I think Keenan Allen is at that point in his career, right? I mean, he missed time to end last year, even while he was having a dynamic season, which, again, this room would look like a disaster if it was DJ Moore and, Tyler Scott and like Dante Pettis, these guys that are hanging around the end of the roster, right? If Keenan Allen was to get injured.
Right.
Now it's not in that position. So even from a year one impact standpoint, it's a critical pick. But obviously for the future, Keenan Allen's 32 years old.
Right.
He's on he's got 1 year remaining on his contract. You don't want to be in a position where the first thing you got to do in 2025 is, we got to beef up the receiver room, right? So you get this done now. You get Rome in the building. Obviously, all the reports were that Caleb Williams pushed for them to draft Rome Odunze. He very similar to like a CJ Stroud, Tank Dell situation last year. This is the guy I want. I think this was a little bit more like, this is the guy I want. And Ryan Poles and the Bears say, it was good call because that's the guy we want too.
Right, exactly. I want to throw out some numbers here in regards to the role that Odunze is going to play, right? So we know he's probably going to line up outside. When we're talking about the Bears last year, 5th fewest outside wide receiver receptions, the 10th fewest yards, but they had the 6th fewest attempts as well, right? So pretty productive given what they kind of sort of had, but obviously this was a unit that an offensive unit that did not throw to the outside a ton, just 6 receiving touchdowns to outside wide receivers. That's a bottom 10 figure in the NFL as well. When you throw in Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and now Rome Odunze, this is a unit that obviously from an outside perspective, Matt, now becomes a strength for them.
Right. And I mean, I would argue that Caleb Williams now, if Rome Odunze is the player that I think he is, right? And for me, I thought he was the second best receiver in the class.
Right.
A player that really didn't have a true weakness. I think could play all three receiver spots. That's critical to this too, is that I think there's going to be some inner position versatility.
Oh, that's going to be great.
Yeah, like I think DJ Moore is a guy that can play all three positions.
Right.
I think Rome Odunze, you want to put him in the slot, I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, again, he's more of a pure outside receiver. I will be interested to see, as the alignment bros, I will be interested to see who actually takes more snaps on the line of scrimmage, DJ Moore or Rome Odunze. To me, I think it probably should be Rome. I think he actually profiles more as a true vertical X than even DJ Moore does, because I think DJ Moore can be weaponized as a player you're moving around pre-snap, stuff like that. So, you go from a room that had kind of two players that I think were not so interchangeable in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, because you really don't want Keenan playing a ton outside at this point in his career, to now like, okay, you get Keenan Allen 25% of his snaps outside. That means Moore is taking some snaps inside. That means Odunze is taking some snaps inside. And that is just going to create a situation where
mismatches everywhere.
Defenses are going to have a lot to think about. By the way, they do have a solid tight end. They have they have guys coming out of the backfield, and DeAndre Swift, who's a reasonable pass catcher, probably not as good as some people wanted him to be, whatever, but it's not a terrible situation there. And for Caleb Williams, man, like if Rome Odunze is the player that I think he is, I think this is one of the 5 best receiver trios in the league right now on paper.
Top 5. It's top 5 easy.
I think it's easy top 5.
Easy top 5. And again, we can go through that exercise, but I mean, I think they're probably pushing for top 3. Honestly, if we're kind of taking a look at it, it's just, I mean, the Bears have revamped. It's crazy to me that the Bears in their history have never had a 4,000-yard passer. They're going to have a 4,000-yard passer this year.
They've also never had a player throw 30 touchdowns. And I don't know if you saw the call that Rome Odunze did with local media, one of the radio stations or something, and they asked him who was the Bears receiving yard leader in terms of franchise history. He guessed Brandon Marshall. It wasn't Brandon Marshall. I don't remember who the player was.
Alshon Jeffrey?
No. It's somebody from like the 60s or something like that. And they said, he had about like just over 5,000 yards or 5,500 yards, maybe. Again, I could look this up, but
who cares?
I'm holding a mic in in our very professional studio.
Yeah.
So, and again, Rome Odunze just goes 5,500 in the career. So I think that this is a dawn of a new age in Chicago in terms of passing game ceiling and efficiency.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great.